So after a pretty good night's sleep in my possibly haunted hotel, I spent a good part of the next day racing around Godalming trying to sort out an internet connection for my phone, which took way longer than it should have. And in the end, I left without it sorted. Now, the reason that I mention this is things don't always go perfectly. And somebody had recently commented on one of my videos saying that they like seeing how even when things aren't going well in my stitching, I just carry on and somehow things always work out in the end. And I think practicing that in stitching has allowed me to manage the big things that sometimes come up in life and don't go as planned. And now I'm in the heart of rural Sussex, which is why I've brought this book along to read. And rural Sussex is the setting for this book called Comfort Farm. And don't you love all those portraits on the cover? And I'm staying at this adorable 500-year-old coaching inn called The Fox Goes Free. And here's a view of their garden area and the view from their garden area. Isn't this quite a wonderful setting? And they serve delicious food here too, with quite delicious cider to wash it down. So how could I resist? I had to make a fox to add to my collection. And why, yes, my fox is holding both a jar of jam and a mug of beer, and wearing a scarf. And let me tell you about this. So the first Women's Institute meeting in England was held at the Fox Goes Free pub where I'm staying. The Women's Institute is an organization that was started to promote education and opportunities for rural women. The UK version was actually modeled after a Canadian group, and one of the things that they were known for was during wartime preserving fruits and vegetables, hence the jam. The landlady of the Fox Goes Free at the time was a woman named Mrs. Lashley, and she invited the group to have their meetings there, hence the mug of beer and my fox, who I've decided to name Mrs. Lashley. I'm sure many things happened in this pub over the years, but the other thing that I know about is that the Fox Goes Free was the setting for an episode of Doctor Who. Doctor Who is an English sci-fi television series that has been on and off the air since the 1960s. The doctor at the time when this episode was filmed here liked to wear very long hand-knit scarves. And so that's why I gave Mrs. Lashley a scarf. And now the villains during this particular episode were an extraterrestrial race known as the Zygons. And if you're a Doctor Who viewer, you may know that Clara was also a Zygon. So I felt that I needed to make myself a Zygon portrait. Now, if you've ever watched Doctor Who, you might know that the opening sequence always features a very psychedelic type background. And I've used something kind of unusual and interesting. It's called metallic transfer foil, and I have a whole box of it here that comes in all sorts of metallic and other sparkly designs and patterns. Now, I've been using it for years on paper. All you have to do is apply some glue or some double-sided tape to your paper, and then you place down the transfer foil with the shiny side up and rub it into the glue or sticky stuff that you have underneath, and then you peel off the foil and it leaves the images behind. Now, I've been using it for years on paper, but I've just recently found out that you can use it on fabric as well. I'm going to use fusible webbing that's usually used to attach two pieces of cloth together, and I've used it on my Zygon here to attach those little circles. It comes in a big roll, and you just cut off the piece that you need. And then you put your roll away carefully so you don't end up ironing on it. And you probably should do this beforehand. You measure to make sure it fits the thing that you want to iron. And then you read the instructions. You place the fusible webbing down on your piece of cloth. I would recommend putting another piece of cloth on top so you don't accidentally fuse the thing to your iron. I'm living dangerously here, not doing that. You let things cool a bit, then you peel off the layer of paper and the plasticky surface will be on your fabric. And then you place the transfer foil with the shiny side up again. You always have to do it again. Check the instructions so you're following the instructions. Iron again for 3 to 5 seconds. In this case, depends on what material you're using. It might be longer, it might be different, and let things cool again. And then you peel that off. And just like magic, all that sparkly metallic goodness is transferred onto your cloth. And there's one other way that I will show you how to use this in a few minutes. But now I just want to sew my Zygon onto the background. And it's actually really easy to sew through this stuff. It's a bit stiff because I've got lots of layers on top of the background, but my needle has really no problem going through that transfer foil at all. And here's how my Zygon looks once I've sewn it all down. And that sparkly background's reminding me of this walk that I took while I was staying at the Fox Grows Free one evening. Actually, it was on summer solstice. I found this wonderful little magical place, and I went for a long walk down this lane here, through this tree tunnel. I was actually hoping to find this more famous tree tunnel, which I understand you can hardly ever get to yourself. But that was one of the things that I needed to get the internet working for, so I think this was a very nice consolation prize, and it's definitely not well known because I had to barge through quite a thick stand of stinging nettles to get there. But I can easily believe that there are fairies living here, can't you? Now, as promised, let me show you one other way to use this transfer foil. You can actually transfer it onto something that you've printed using a laser printer or a photocopy. Now, I don't actually have a printer at home, so I found this test print here that I'm going to show you how to do this. So just like everything else, you place it with the shiny side up, and you just iron right onto your photocopy or printout. And then once they've dried, you peel off the film and it's transferred onto your print. Now, you do have to be careful that you're using a laser printer, so something that uses toner. Pretty cool, hey? And so here I am adding one last final touch to my Zygon portrait. I'm adding the frame or the border, and there you go. There is my fox and my extraterrestrial. And I'm getting quite a collection of these portraits and little characters. And next time I'll tell you what I plan to do with them. Bye for now, and I will see you again soon.